How you doing? This is George with Truck Driver Nation. What we're going to discuss here is a little bit different than what I'm normally discussing, and we thought it'd be a good thing. Literally, my wife may be in here, I'm not sure, but as an American and a Filipino couple, what we want you to understand is if you're going to be here and you're going to work from home as whatever you're doing, what it's going to be about working in the same household when you actually have to work for the United States, whether you bring your wife in to learn it or she's working at a call center, because a lot of people work at call centers here, what that's going to turn out to look for you. So a lot of people make a misunderstanding. This isn't about a long distance relationship. This is literally about you being in the same house in the same country, being in the Philippines and working in different time zone because of whatever industry you're in. Now, the way that we manage this is well, since we're in logistics, and you'll just have to adapt this according to your needs because we teach freight dispatching at truckdrivernation.com. That QR code literally gets you to our website, and we train a lot of Americans because they come here and they literally come here with bad assumptions that they're going to be able to get a job here. It's not really like that here. And if you do, you're going to make pennies on the dollar. You're living way below, not the income that's required to live here, but based on what you should have been, your projections of what you should have been making, just like if you was working in the United States. So I chose not to do that. I chose to continually make the income that I'm making based on that I was in logistics. And I already had a real big in-depth understanding of what it took to continue to make what I was making here and still generate money from my own country. So that being said, um, this is basically covering the time zone, life inside one home. And the way we've managed to do it, I'm 55. She's obviously younger than me, 29. But the way we've done it is we basically have learned to work as a partnership. So if you're going to actually do this, where if you decide to team up and do something, like for us, we're in the same field because she had worked in call centers before. And I was like, nah, man, why are you going to be making pesos where I can fix it where you're making American dollars? So I literally trained her in my industry, and it wasn't an easy task. And let me tell you, I'm the type of person who will throw you in the damn Mississippi River and say, learn to swim. And you either make it back to the shore or we will see you in the Gulf of Mexico. So that being said, that's how she really learned how to learn logistics. She started out as a truck driver recruiter. And as she's developed, she's learned all the paperwork, back office aspect about what we do as trainers because we started a school in teaching people how to freight dispatch. So it's one of those work kind of modules, or not modules, but profiles where she's had to learn of different tiers of different things inside the logistics side that you would normally work inside the United States and the back office. So that actually accomplished two things. It made it where she's making American money inside the Philippines, or actually the household. We don't really separate it up. It's our household that we support. So we're making money in logistics, but at the same time, she has now learned to be an effective personality inside of logistics. So now that means when we actually make the final transition into the United States, she's ready to go to work. I mean, so she already knows English, and her English was already good when I met her, but it's cleaned up her English in reference to the terminology and stuff used inside the logistics community. So now when we get there, she's ready to go to work. And obviously, I know enough people that I'll be able to put her in a good position if we decide to go that direction or continue to do it the way we're doing it. But that being said, the biggest thing that we had to get used to was working all night. And the relationship is there, but being tired, not getting quality sleep, not feeling like you've got enough energy to cook an adequate meal other than eating trash food that's out of whatever restaurant or whatever it may be, that compounds the given situation. So what we've learned to do is we have lots of time with each other, but we've tilted the schedule. So basically, if I'm working for scenario's sake, if I'm working all day because I'm good while the sun's up, because that's part of my normal circadian rhythm, that I'm able to be really effective during the daytime hours. Now I do work late. I don't get a bunch of sleep. I came out of logistics to begin with, and I'm so used to being up. It's hard for me to shut myself down. And that's always been an issue ever since we've been together, but it may be a factor to some of my underlying issues that I have, like PTSD, for example. But by the time it gets nighttime, she usually sleeps in the afternoon to the late to the I'm gonna say early morning. She usually gets up about 12 or 1 o'clock and she takes over. So that gives me about an hour or two to wind down, see how she's doing, and then I'm able to shut down and finally go to sleep. And I'm right there, with her. So, since we work from home, she can literally work in the bed or work in the living room, and I will literally crash out on the couch or whatever it tells or whatever it entails. But I'm gonna tell you, even with that, it's still pretty rugged. Now, when it comes to our relationship, we still have to look, well, how much sleep did we get? And are we really feeling like communicating with each other in a productive way? Because sometimes we get snappy and we know what the problem is, but when you're in the middle of a problem, you don't care because you're not feeling it, because you're not feeling good in general. So that's one of the things that you're going to have to take in consideration if you're going to come here, stay with your wife all the way to the point where she gets the visa to go home and go back to the United States and then start doing whether you're doing a K1 or you're doing a straight out marriage and then you're getting the visa and going home, that, what's that going to look like on both ends? For us, it was a great strategy because it benefits both of us. We're both in the same field. We understand each other better by being in the same industry. Sometimes we talk business more than what we should, instead of giving it up and just relaxing and just being with each other for those periods of time. But that's one of the things you're going to have to take into consideration if you're going to come here, because you're coming here to meet somebody, or if you haven't met somebody, what strategy you possibly going to need to include if you decided you're going to stay here for the duration, because it really does take a minute to get this visa. Let's say, give me a building a system instead of just managing a relationship. You need the time management. For us, like for example, our dispatch hours are protected work time. So we have to know we have to do our job, or otherwise we lose that capability to make it the American dollar. Personal time is intentionally scheduled. Everything's scheduled for us. Now, Monday through Friday, we're definitely engaged 100% logistics. Remember, it really starts for us Monday evening till Saturday morning, more or less. That's when we're finally finished for the week. So we have the rest of the day, Saturday, Sunday, and majority of the day from Monday actually off to spend with each other. But sometimes some of those days are used for just resting, laying around like a pair of lazy dogs. But we're tired. Let's say working together in a business. Now remember, the way they work and the way we work is different. Now, part of it could be because she was in a BPO call center and she wasn't used to dealing with unscripted field like we are in logistics. These are truck drivers. They're not want you to be sold. They need to know what you can provide for them because they're truck drivers or owner operators, and they're needing you to be an outsourced. I mean, well, not outsourced, but they need you to be a freight dispatcher on their behalf. So that being said, she had to learn to obviously deal with just regular truck driver recruiting, the freight dispatching, owner operator communication, and training and teaching through courses. That's a lot to entail. So we got paperwork. Paperwork is the second language when it comes to logistics. There's always got to be a streamline of documentation, whether it's a hard copy or a digital footprint, so you can always back and prove any given situation, especially when it comes to doing whether we should get paid for it or whether we owe somebody else. Is there a claim? Is there over shortages and damages and all those different factors? So it's a lot to entail. It sounds easier than what it's easier said than done. Now, communication internationally is obviously it's not constant. So we try to do catch up, and obviously we also do quick check-ins with people like students and stuff. We obviously do webinars. We try to consolidate everything based on the given task, so we can kind of kill more than one bird. Or was it kill more than one bird with one stone? Sometimes I forget what the hell I'm saying. But that being said, we try to accommodate that given situation so we can incur or knock out a bunch of stuff in one sequence, so we're not just constantly chasing our tails trying to catch up with whatever processes that we're actually addressing. Focused conversations when work slows down. We try to stay focused, but we try to wind down. But we need to make sure that I've covered my issues, she's covered her issues, and she's really bad about back communicating with me because their way of communicating and thinking is a lot different than what we actually used to in the work setting. So you got to make sure that you have to accommodate that to make sure she understands what needs to be covered, that you need to make sure all the bases have been touched. Otherwise, it can have secondary influences, destroy your reputation. Logistics community is big, but it ain't that big. Um, no unnecessary interruptions during peak dispatch hours. We have to cut everything out. So if whether it's our family members or anything like that, everybody else has to go to the side outside of work. We even get people here that are from the United States that they want to learn about how we do what we do, and they come over here when to our home when it's actually during working hours. I have to just cut it short. Yes, I'm rude, but I'm come out of trucking, so it don't hurt my feelings a bit. But it's the way it has to be because I have people that are paying me to be responsible for they're given equipment or whatever to make sure that they're getting the help that they actually asked me for. So I just have to cut those short. And like I tell everybody, before you make a move come in my direction, you need to give me a call ahead of time. Um, and now obviously if they're a paid customer, they're paying for us to teach them the course. Well, you got 100% of my attention because now you fall into the category that you paid me for the service. Because remember, we don't produce nothing. We're not making a product. We only provide a service. Now, the biggest adjustment, energy, not just time, that's a big one. Make sure you eat well, try to get up and exercise. You need those breaks to get away. Yes, the phones are on. So we use a lot of, different applications to keep track of everybody, like our TMSs, ELDs, all this stuff that we have to obviously make sure we monitor. So if anybody calls, it does interrupt. Depending on the person calling, depends on whether we're going to answer the call or not. So you have to set parameters on that to make sure that it does not get confused. And the reason I'm giving you all this ain't about just freight dispatching. This is about you understanding the different parameters inside whatever you are involved in your life, that you have to set those parameters so you do have that life. Otherwise, my wife would just think that I'm treating her like a slave. Okay. I don't need that. I love her. So you have to make sure you incorporate these things. Now, night dispatch drains your mental focus. By the time work slows down, your energy is different than from someone that just started working their day out. That's factual. It tells that line tells itself about you're wore out. You need some rest. But she's getting up and she's getting going, and I don't want to be rude to her just coming out of bed. In fact, I hate waking her up. I wish I could let her sleep all night, but that's the agreement we agreed upon to begin with, because I told her, I said, this is going to be a long road. It's going to feel like a long road until we actually make it back to the United States. And now we're back to working in central time zone. Then it will ease up on us, and it'll be such a change on our productivity as well. So when you have to learn when to engage, and you obviously have to learn when to engage, when you need to rest, and when not to force interaction just for the sake of it. Okay. Don't just interact with people just because, oh, they're calling. Let me call. Don't do it. It turns out to be work. It is work. So don't do that. Allot those time schedules and leave it like that. If you cannot produce what you need to produce in those given time windows, then what you're doing is not productive anyways. It's not making the revenue if you're scratching and clawing, trying to get more and more and more. Let's say what makes it work long term. Respect each other's workload. Clear roles a bit in the business. We actually have marked boundaries. I don't even engage her on what she's doing. I know she's got it done. She's been trained. She's proven herself. I don't get on her neck. Understand that trucking is always active because we're in trucking. We're always active, but I don't engage just because somebody's calling. If they can text me, I'll look at it. And if it's pending, I will help. If it's something pending outstanding that needs to be immediately addressed. Trust in each other's ability to handle their responsibility. We've got that. So we're in good shape when it comes to that. So make sure you don't miss that given point. Now, the advantage of this whole setup between us is we have faster decision-making abilities. We have better communication than a lot of other teams that are out there. We share understanding of the stress and the workload. So I understand what she's stressed. I can see it in her eyes. Now, sometimes I'm late to recognize it because I might be tired. Well, I'm not recognizing it because I'm focused on myself, because I'm feeling those inner feelings physically based on what we've been going on. But you got to look at your partner and recognize that she's had her fill too. And sometimes she'll just straight out and come and tell me, and that obviously helps make things a lot easier on me because then I understand what's going on. But if she's an introvert, you're going to have a problem with that. So understand the stress and the workload. So stronger alignment on goals. You have to understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, and if it fails, we both made a decision on it. So keeping that open line of communication is mandatory, actually. So So, anyways, the whole point behind all this, me telling these points based on whatever industry you're in, you want to make it easier for this relationship to exist. Even though you're in the Philippines, you're going to see that because you got two different factors: language, culture. You're not at home. You're outside the time zone. You're trying to deal with people that are at home that you normally could have had a better interaction with them if you were there standing in their face. Those all become obstacles. Now, in addition to data, phones, all that stuff, you just have to work through them. And so, based on the business, you'll get a feel for these. But whatever you do, be straightforward with her or him if you're coming here to marry a guy or whatever. Make sure there's a complete understanding and transparency on what it is. And if they're not signed on for it, then it probably costs the relationship because the thing is, her running around, you're working the night shift. That's going to be a lot of variables. This has made it a lot easier on us. And obviously, don't have her out working for some peso. I'm actually making American money. So that benefits you in more than one way. But anyways, I hope this gave you a little insight on what we've experienced. Us being here, waiting for this visa to get home so we can get back in our own time zone, get us a more stable circadian rhythm, that type of deal. Even going to dentist appointments, doctor's appointments, you'd be surprised how bad it eats the day up because of traffic and everything else, and you still have to be ready to go in the nighttime. Even going to shop for groceries, all these things add up in that mindset. Yes, you can hire you helpers, outsource, like VAs, household help, and all that stuff. But in the end, they're not with you like your wife. She understands what you like, what you don't like to eat, how you like it cooked. An egg cooked one way can be cooked a bunch of other ways, and she knows which way you particularly prefer it. So that being said, keep these little factors in mind. But anyways, that being said, if you actually want to actually work from home, that QR code is also inside the website, truckdrivernation.com, but you can scan it with your phone. It'll take you right to the website. You can get a hold of us on the first page, on the homepage. There's a lot of QR codes on different ways to get a hold of us. If you decide you want to get trained up so you can work at home as a freight dispatcher, please give us a call. So we got access to jobs, working with us, or other means if you just want to do it yourself. But that being said, we do provide training. Now, it does cost. This ain't free. There's nothing in life for free. And obviously, it's not going to start when you come to my door because we have to actually make a living too. This is how we generate revenue. But that being said, I hope maybe this might help you in one way or the other. But outside that, I thank you. I appreciate your time. And thank you for watching this content. Please like or subscribe. That's supposed to help me out. Don't know really how it still helps me out, but please, I would definitely appreciate that as well. But anyways, thank you so much. Have a blessed one, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.